She fought 85 enemies alone, and they called her Crybaby. They found her at dawn, sitting in the scorched center of Fort Valiant Ridge, alone, silent, her rifle still warm. The enemy was gone, all of them, no backup, no air support, just her, and a story no one could explain, until they looked closer. The bolt snapped closed with a soft metallic click. Calla Renshaw wiped the last trace of carbon from her carbine, then froze. A voice crackled through the outer comms, Staff Sergeant Elkins, KIA, Hollow Gate Patrol. Her fingers stopped. Elkins! He once taught her to strip a saw blindfolded, gave her his last protein bar when she missed chow. She blinked, but the sting came anyway. A tear slipped down, cutting through the dust on her cheek. Behind her. Here we go again, someone muttered. Crybaby Calla. Another chuckled. Neither stayed to watch what came next. Calla stood. 15 rounds, 15 hits. No misses, no pause. The target at 75 meters had no face left, but all they remembered were the tears. She'd heard it for weeks. Crybaby. Her file said technically exceptional, emotionally volatile. Rumors were worse, too soft, too unstable, but none of them saw what she saw. Once, she brought tea to a shaking private no one else noticed. 2 days later, diagnosed with early combat trauma. They didn't ask why she did it. They only noticed her silence during drone footage, or the way her eyes blurred when casualty reports were read. Even Major Stratton, the man who once said I like shooters, now passed her like furniture. She wasn't demoted, just boxed in. Ammo logs, supply crates, radio duty. You're essential where you are, he said. She stopped arguing, but inside. She kept watching how the sniper avoided eye contact after a failed patrol, how the medic flinched when the PA buzzed, how silence settled over breakfast after a certain name. They mapped terrain. She mapped tension. They tracked movement. She tracked fear, and no one noticed, except Sergeant Theo Vance. Renshaw. You check the north crates 3 belts per post. Radios charged. You good? I'm fine. That's all they said. He didn't treat her like glass, and he never asked what she was really seeing. Then it came. A low, alert tone. Heightened enemy movement. Hollowgate sector. 72-hour window. High alert. Calla didn't flinch. She'd already seen it. For 2 weeks. She'd tracked the ridge. Shadows that moved with purpose. Birdsong that stopped. Air that held its breath. She opened the drawer beneath the comms, pulled a folded map. Not just topography, but pressure points, circles, numbers. Hollowgate wasn't a pass, it was a funnel. And the kill zone was already drawn. She'd seen the shape before, in drills, in simulations no one else remembered. Now it was unfolding real. A perfect trap drawn into the terrain. Not loud, not messy, smart. Coordinated, and every textbook counter-tactic would send them straight into a fire corridor. Calla didn't panic. She reached for the notebook buried under the comms shelf. Maps, scans, handwritten overlays, circles of tension, choke points, blind angles, pressure lines where even veterans paused. She didn't call it doctrine. She called it a cognitive pressure grid. Next to it, laminated cue cards. Fake comms traffic in her handwriting, sniper teams in position. Echo 2, hold your flank. Grid 17 hot. She'd recorded them all calm, panicked, clipped, ran them through a modulator she'd quietly built from scraps. Her goal wasn't to fight harder. It was to make the enemy feel watched, uneasy, off balance, every night, after supply checks and comm logs. She returned to the bunker, ran silent drills, timed reloads, rewrote deception scripts, alone. No one knew, except maybe Sergeant Vance. He never asked about the extra batteries. Once, he sat beside her while she sketched, pointed to a ridge and said, "You missed a crosswind channel here?" Then walked away. He never brought it up again. But he knew. She was preparing for something they hadn't named yet. And still he said nothing. That silence stung more than the rumors. At sunrise, she stood outside the command post, helmet in hand, mind clear, inside. Major Stratton finished his briefing. She waited, then stepped in. "Sir, I need 5 minutes," he sighed. "Make it fast." She laid the map on his desk. "The enemy will hit the northeast ridge. Terrain funnels into our weakest point. They've been probing us time bursts. Every 20 minutes, always 3 angles. It's not random." He scanned the page. Frowned. "Dalton, this looks like improv. It's tactical psychology," she said. "They're not just attacking our base. They're shaping our response." He leaned back. "Your logistics. Stay in your lane. I'm not overriding command." She replied, "I'm trying to help. Stay in your box." She stood straighter. "Request reassignment to defensive coordination if alert escalates." "Denied." She saluted, understood. But as she stepped back into the morning light, her mind was already moving, fast. The ridge wasn't just vulnerable. It was calling to her. That night, she returned to the bunker, laid out her maps, scripts, cards, unscrewed a fuel can, hovered the match. One flick and it would all burn. But her hand never moved. Instead, she refolded every page with care, not out of hope, out of readiness. She zipped the notebook shut and whispered, "If I'm wrong, none of this matters." Then looked again at the map. "But if I'm right, they'll never see it coming." And if she was right, they'd never see it coming. At exactly 6:02 hours, the first mortar landed. It cracked open the northwest wall of Fort Valiant Ridge like thunder. The sky lit with flame. Crates toppled. Dust swallowed the silence. Calla Renshaw dropped to a knee, ears ringing, glass raining down. Then came the shriek of the base alarm. She didn't hesitate, grabbed her rifle and sprinted into the smoke. From behind the supply depot, she saw them figures moving across the far ridge. Dozens, tactical spacing, disciplined fire control, not a raid, not a bluff. This was coordinated. East approach lit up sharp bursts, suppressive patterns. 3 support gunners, rifle squad in the draw. But they weren't storming the center. They were steering defenders toward the southern trail, a narrow cut with no cover, a funnel, a kill zone. Calla ran harder, ducking under fire that snapped like angry wasps past her head. Sandbags tore open beside her. A scream echoed behind. She didn't look back. Inside the command post, Major Stratton barked into radios. "Evac protocol, fall back. Alpha and Delta to cover the South Pass. They were moving in 10. She burst through the door. "Sir, you can't send them south. That trail's boxed in. They're baiting us." Stratton barely glanced her way. "Not now. Renshaw. They're forcing a retreat into a pre-sighted fire corridor. Snipers are already up there. I've seen this tactic before, staggered pressure waves, 3-angle sweep. It's textbook asymmetric push." He turned, sharp-eyed. "Unless you've got a satellite feed I don't know about. You're guessing. I'm reading their pattern." He stared like she was speaking another language. "This isn't your notebook. This is real." Another mortar hit closer this time. Ceiling dust rained. A radio tech hit the floor. Then Sergeant Vance burst through the side entrance, limping, blood darkening his shoulder. East gates breached. 12. Maybe more suppressive cover. Calla caught him before he collapsed. "Vance, stay with me." He gritted his teeth, voice raw. "I saw it too. The pattern." "You were right. Should have said something." He coughed, blood on his lips. Too damn late. Medics dragged him away. Calla stood frozen, not in fear, in clarity. Everything she'd tracked, it was happening. Beat for beat. A new voice broke over the comms. Echo command movement all across the west face. 30+ heavy weapons. Closing fast. Stratton's face drained of color. They had 20 minutes. "Maybe." Calla stepped forward. "Sir, I'm staying behind." He blinked. "Excuse me, I'm going to hold the base." Alone. A scoff came from the corner. Someone swore under their breath. Stratton looked at her like she'd lost her mind. You think this is a movie, you can't stop 80 fighters. I'm not fighting them conventionally, she said. I'm going to confuse them, delay, misdirect. All I've seen is a soldier who cries during debriefings. I'm not asking permission, she said, quiet but unshaken. I've prepared for this. You trained them to shoot straight. I trained myself to fight smarter. He stepped closer. If you die, I have to write that report. If I don't, we all die. For the first time, there were no tears in her eyes, only steel. The radio cracked again, perimeter failing. Reinforcements ETA 7 hours, no air support. Stratton's jaw clenched. This better not be a bluff. It's not. She laid it out fast. 10 fire stations, overlapping fields, fake radio traffic, acoustic loops, light triggers, illusion of a full battalion. He said nothing, then stepped aside. She turned to leave, past Vance on a stretcher. His hand gripped her wrist. Make it count. She touched her forehead to his. I will. She grabbed her rifle, her ruck, 3 belts of ammo, a stack of laminated cue cards, and walked out alone as the last evac unit slipped toward the south trail at the north tower. The sun dipped behind the ridges. Shadows stretched across the valley. She took position, ready to disappear into the war she'd already rehearsed. 85 enemies, maybe more. And she was alone. Calla Renshaw stood in the ruins of Fort Valiant Ridge, fingers brushing the earpiece she'd rigged to scan enemy comms. Every breath slowed. This wasn't a last stand. It was a calculated performance. She wasn't betting on firepower. She was betting on fear, and they had no idea what was waiting for them. At 0700, silence fell over the wreckage. Smoke curled from the shattered wall. Ash drifted like slow snow. But behind sandbag barriers and camouflaged rigs, Calla keyed her mic. Alpha team, report, Bravo, hold flank suppression. Her voice was steady, controlled. The words weren't for allies. They were for the enemy. From the ridge, enemy scouts huddled, unsure. Every 5 minutes, a shot rang out from a new direction. Some cracked bark, others clipped helmets. Each had a different rhythm, no two alike. She cycled through 10 firing stations, each with its own personality. Tower 2, precise bursts. South bunker, frantic volleys. The shack window, 1 round. Every 4 minutes. Exactly. At each post, she left mismatched boot prints just enough. Behind the northern barricade, her laptop ran a fake comms loop. Encrypted, layered, chaotic. Grid 17 under fire. Evac point Delta medic en route. Snipers shift east. Cover zones 5 through 8. To outsiders, it sounded like a base under siege, fully manned, fully armed. To Calla, it was theater. By hour 2, she had fired 37 rounds from 7 different angles. Only 5 were confirmed hits. But the real damage wasn't the body count. It was the hesitation. At 0900, she intercepted a panicked voice. Still no visual. Nightwatch says 8 shooters, no clear pattern, possible ambush. She smiled, wiped sweat from her brow, and kept moving. By hour 3, her legs ached, her shoulder throbbed from recoil, her voice cracked from whispering fake commands. At 10:13 hours, she activated a loop, this one designed for the enemy to hear air support en route. 2 hours, hold your ground, fake static, tight urgency, and just like that, tension spiked. You hear that they've got air cover. I say fall back negative. HQ says take the base before noon. An hour passed. She wept once, silent, brief, not from fear, from fury, from resolve. Then impact. A wave of RPGs slammed the west wall. Dust clouded her view as fighters stormed the perimeter. Calla crawled beneath the eastern ammo depot, her most fortified spot. She watched them move exactly where she'd predicted. She let them fill the grid she'd built. Hesitation zones, depth illusions, false cover. Then she struck, silently, precisely. 1 shot, 2. Muzzle flash revealed she dropped their lead man. Chaos erupted. She triggered the east spotlight. A dummy silhouette swung through the smoke, drew fire instantly. She followed the tracers, found the commander. Scarlet armband. Calm under fire. Calling orders. She held her breath. Aimed 2 inches left of his ear. Crack. He dropped. The comms exploded. Commander down, repeat, commander is. She didn't wait. Triggered a new illusion. Overlapping accents barked from hidden speakers, north stairwell secured. Reinforcements inbound. Snipers in control zones. Push them back. Then a deep voice thundered across the courtyard. Surrender now, or face total annihilation. Pre-recorded. Pitch shifted. Untraceable. Panic spread. Some enemies fired blindly into shadows. Some fled. By hour 6, half were gone. The rest scattered, leaving gear, wounded, and the distinct impression that the base was crawling with defenders. But it wasn't. It was still just her, and she wasn't chasing them. She haunted them. She collapsed behind a half-buried crate, chest heaving, lips cracked, fingers raw. The sun was almost gone. Silence, and then a low roar rolled across the valley. She sat up. 3 Blackhawks, 2 Ospreys, 1 C-130 banking wide, casting a massive shadow over the ruins like a drifting whale. She reached for the mic with shaking fingers. Valiant Ridge, secure, she croaked, then closed her eyes. Defender count 1. The dust hadn't yet settled when General Huxley stepped down from the lead bird. His boots crunched over spent casings, shattered radios, the last pieces of a siege. Around him covered bodies, blood trails, still burning embers and jagged wreckage. And then he saw her, Calla Renshaw, seated against a blast wall, rifle across her lap, face smeared with soot. Blood streaked across her cheek, but her eyes calm, steady, watching. She didn't salute. Didn't move, just held his gaze, and for the first time in his long command. Huxley didn't see a subordinate. He saw something else entirely. The medics paused. The operators parted. No one spoke. No one needed to. He stepped closer, removed his helmet. Renshaw, he said, voice hoarse. I was wrong. She didn't gloat, didn't blink. It's all right, sir, she replied. Dry but steady. As long as you're listening now. 3 days later, a secure room, Texas Central Command. Behind her, a tactical overlay filled the screen, enemy red lines encircling a base. Only one blue dot at the center her. She stood in full dress uniform, one arm still bandaged. This is the psychological battle map I built, she said. Not just terrain emotion, instinct, predictive reaction zones, slides, clicked circles, handwritten overlays, colored fear gradients. A murmur moved through the brass. General Mallister leaned in. Where did you learn this? Calla met his eyes. No one taught me. I listened. I watched. And I stopped seeing the enemy as monsters. That's how I knew what they feared. Silence, not of awe, of realization. She wasn't an exception. She was a mirror. And the system had refused to look. Later, in a quiet hallway, Huxley approached her alone. I judged you, he said, because you didn't shout, because you hesitated before speaking. I thought that meant weakness. He looked away, then back. I was wrong, and I'll fix it. Observation core, it ends. Emotional intuition. From now on, it counts. Anyone who sees the field like you isn't just fit for combat. They're the future. 6 months later, Fort Grayton, Advanced Tactical School. Calla stepped on stage, hair trimmed short. The old notebook in hand, same one, still stained with ash. Behind her, a slide of the emotional map. Before her, a hall of students, cadets, officers, all silent. I was once labeled non-combat. She began, considered too quiet. A liability. She let that settle. But I survived not by shouting louder, but by listening harder. Because emotion isn't weakness, it's leverage. A hand rose. What made you stay? When no one believed, she paused. I almost didn't. She said, "But if I hadn't, no one else would have seen what I saw." She tapped the notebook, then lifted her eyes. "They taught me to fight with a cold mind. I'm here to teach you to fight with a burning heart." She placed the notebook on the podium. "That is real strength."